What's going on, Falcon fan? This boy Kundu coming back at you with another video. So, guys, we are about 48 hours away from the tampering period for the Atlanta Falcons and the rest of the NFL to start negotiating with this year's free agents for 2024. So this quarterback saga is coming to a close or it's coming to a head, however you want to look at it. But I think we're almost close to determining where the Atlanta Falcons, is going to do at the quarterback position. We trying to figure out how they're going to start to fill out this roster. It ends with the draft in April, so it's still about 7 weeks away from when the draft is actually going to take place. When this roster is kind of complete for 2024. However, this is should be one of the first dominoes to fall, and we kind of get an idea where the Atlanta Falcons want to do. I mean, because they could still go and get a quarterback in the draft as well. So we still weighing options, but this is a turning point in in the decision for all teams to kind of figure out, some kind of direction for where teams going to start thinking about and what they're going to start doing this off season when we start talking about that quarterback position. But it's so many different rumors and things around there talking about the quarterback position. And the latest one is that Kirk Cousins is definitely favorite, potentially to be the Atlanta Falcons' next quarterback, especially if he, you know, does not sign back with the Minnesota Vikings here. That they'll be able to negotiate with him here starting Monday. So, but when I start to think about it, and you start to see these numbers going around for how much it would actually take potentially to sign Kirk Cousins, then you have to start thinking about the Atlanta Falcons and where they're at as a team right now, where we just came from. You think about salary cap hell that we was in, you know, and things like that. When we cleaned up our cap, we just talked about it. Right now, it's like like $5 million in dead cap right now. So the Atlanta Falcons got to be, factoring in the salary cap situation when they make this decision on the quarterback. If it was just one, and everybody knew the answer to finding that quarterback for your team, most teams already have it figured out. But the problem is when you're dealing with this game and why this game is so much fun to watch and talk about and discuss throughout the years is because it's so, you don't know what's going to happen. It's so unpredictable, right? So it's it's a crapshoot wherever direction you go. You got to make a decision. You can't really be 100% no. A lot of guys they try to figure it out. Like, yeah, that's the guy. When they go sign these guys to long term deals, they go draft these guys out the draft, and even when you look at a guy when he was on the previous team, like either in college or the pros, you try to say he can replicate that when he comes to your team, but you don't really know. So you always taking a chance. That's why when I did a video a while back here and I say risk versus reward, every decision that Atlanta Falcons make is going to be considered that, right? I don't think it's a 100% sure fired decision that they can make that not might not have some angst for some people on that decision that they make. It's just the bottom line. But when it comes to Kirk Cousins in particular, and we start talking about this salary cap, the price tag for him, I think is one they have to weigh heavily on, right? It has to be talked about. The other quarterback decisions won't cost as much. It just won't, right? Um, then you have to think about the future, right? So, you know, usually they say as GMs, a lot of times when GMs are weighing in, they're building a team for they can build it for, sustainability throughout the future. You think about a coach, they're coaching for the job so they can win. And you trying to get those pieces on the field, those players on the field, so you can make the best decisions possible, right? So we're gonna definitely talk about that today. But it was just been think about it because the day they was talking, I was looking at the potential price tag for how much it would cost with Kirk Cousins, and I start to, for me personally, I started to get kind of flashbacks on where we just left as an organization on the money and things like that. So we're going to get into that today, guys, and I definitely want to hear from about what you guys think about it. So with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like button, so I know you guys like to hear what I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So when we talk about the day, the first thing I want to talk about, it was another report that came out today, and the Atlanta Falcons are once again, and if you look at where we were last year, about around this same time, a lot of people, especially considering the moves that Atlanta Falcons made, um, start the offseason off right, making all those additions on defense. We had all those skill players, the draft of Bijan Robinson and all like that. A lot of people had the Atlanta Falcons winning the NFC South, so it's like deja vu all over again, right? The interesting thing right now is that they already favored to win NFC South, and we still don't know who our quarterback going to be. But when you're thinking about that, right, what it's telling me is that everybody's looking at this roster, which you have to just give credit to Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith for what they have done over the last 3 years, right? To make this roster, where it could be competitive, right? You can see the improvements from this team, right? It's not, for one reason, it's not the same team it was, when they took over, right? It's only probably like three or four, at the most 10 guys here that was here with the previous regime. It's just it's a lot of turnover that has taken place. They have completely cleaned up the salary cap, and it's a team that a lot of people believe. If you're just going back to last year alone, if we had better, consistency on the offensive side of the ball, the Atlanta Falcons would definitely won the NFC South and would have been a playoff team. So it's not, you know, being overreaction and thinking like that when they say that Atlanta Falcons is favored to win NFC South, even though we do not have a quarterback yet in place, right? So I understand the mindset when they're thinking about when they say that the Atlanta Falcons are favored. It makes total sense to me. If you look at the other teams in our division, even looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who actually won NFC South last year, they have cap issues. They just do. They still got to figure out what they're going to do with their safety, Antoine Whitfield Jr. They still have to figure out what they're going to do with their quarterback position as well. Probably is going to bring back Baker Mayfield, but what number that's going to be at. They got the other linebacker, Devin White, is another guy that they got to consider about what they're going to do with him. So it's not like, even though they won the NFC South, and we was right there as a team as well. So that's some of the things that we just got to think about. So when they say the Atlanta Falcons are favored to win NFC South, it makes sense. You look at the New Orleans Saints, right? They still right now, and they got into Wednesday to figure this out, but they still got to get up under the cap, right? So they still got to make decisions. They have already restructured guys. I see that they signed the Honey Badger once again, probably lowering the cap again, signed him to a 2-year contract, but they had to make tough decisions as well. I assume that they feel comfortable with Derek Carr, but they just changed out their offensive coordinator, bringing in Gary Kubiak's son to run that offense. So we all know what's going on with the Carolina Panthers, right? They're probably in a complete rebuild. And even the guy that they franchised and Brian Burns, it's more like probably a trade chip for him. So even though the Atlanta Falcons have not picked a quarterback yet, they might be the most stable team and the most complete team, right now, right? So I understand that they saying the Atlanta Falcons is favored to win NFC South, but the truth of the matter is that the Atlanta Falcons still have a lot of holes that they need to figure out. They just do. It's no other way to look around it. They have to figure out some things with this roster, because this roster is good. I like it a lot, but it still holds they got to fill, right? We had a lot of free agents that that was contributors this past season. I mean, our two sack leaders, Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell, was free agents this year, right? Um, Now we saw the jump in sacks that we had. We went to 42 sacks this season, and that's more than the last two seasons combined for sacks. So you gotta like what you've seen from this defense, but your two sack leaders is free agents, right? So that's a whole the field, right? We got one cornerback on the team. Um, they got to figure out his contract situation, but we need to fill another cornerback. You like the young talent and Clark Phillip that you got. You like what DeMarco Hellens was able to show from a safety standpoint, but are you really 100% sure about Richie Grant, right? So it's holes you got to fill um, on this roster. You only got one solid wide receiver on your roster right now. So even though, Atlanta Falcons favorite, a lot of people think that, if they fill these holes, they'll be right there, right? Which brings me to what I wanted to talk about in the first place was the salary cap. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, what's up, Wallace? What up, EQ? Um, Wallace say you think they're gonna let Devin White go? You might be right. They might, right? And see, now they got to go, probably going to draft, right? To actually get a linebacker. That's probably what they end up doing. Man, I've been on. EQ said, man, we've been a good team for years. Now we just need the quarterback and a couple other players, and we're good. Right, right. I mean, and you know, EQ, you pretty much just simplified it. That's what everybody else is saying, right? That's why they're favored to win. So you are right, right? We get a quarterback, we fill out some of the holes I just talked about. We're right there, all right. But guys, when you start to think about it, right, and you try to put it in context, and you say, well, how do they do that, right? So, like I said, it's been rumored, right, and we still don't know, right? It's just a rumor that Kirk Cousins is the guy that they're going for first, right? That's the rumor out there, right? Um, I do believe if Kirk Cousins does not get a contract by Minnesota, he's definitely going to be a free agent, and now he can start talking with other teams, and teams can start trying to figure out what they're going to do. That's pretty much what it boils down to. They can start negotiating with him, and let's be honest, these teams probably already talked to all these agents, right? The rumors that they can't talk to the players, it's tampering period, whatever. But you have to start gauging right now, what your plan is going to be. So, I'm pretty sure if the Atlanta Falcons have not reached out to the agents reached out to these teams to get some kind of interest already. You have to. I'm pretty sure they already know this. Not going to broadcast it because it would be against the rules and things like that. But I mean, people got phones, they got connections, they can get some kind of, you know, something out to find out how interested teams are or how interested players might be in. That's how you already know, like, time to the negotiating period start, hour or 2 hours later, teams already got deals already in place with players. You're like, how in the hell did that happen? Well, because guys, we're not stupid. We know how it happened. So that's where you already know. So right now we kind of got an idea. And I know, I mean, they probably got an idea of the interest that Kirk Cousins has in the Falcons, and Falcons probably got interest. Um, you know, Kirk Cousins probably got interest how interested the Falcons are in. That's probably where it sits at. But just looking today, and the projected contract for Kirk Cousins is 125 million for 3 years. That's about $41 million a year, worked up to 131 million with incentives, right? It won't be fully guaranteed, even though we know that's the way Kirk Cousins get down. But I just find it hard to believe that any team would give him a fully guaranteed contract coming off an Achilles injury, right? So, but he probably would get about 85 million guaranteed up there, 125, right? So, that's a lot, $41 million a year. All right, now we talked about this, and everybody knows this. So it when you're looking at the salary cap, now you're looking at that 41 million. Everybody knows that it's really easy for teams to make that number this year in 2024 not be 41 million. right? They could give signing bonuses, right? They can drop it all the way down to 5 million or 1.2 million. They can easily do that because all they have to do is spread out that guaranteed, that 85 or whatever, and they can add void years. It's the new thing that they've been doing lately, is adding void years at the end of contracts to spread out all that guaranteed when you give them a signing bonus. So they could lower the cap. They could lower the cap. And that 41 million a year definitely won't be that. Will not be that 41 million. So the Atlanta Falcons will definitely still have money to spend. I mean, 100%, they definitely will have money to spend. And they'll still be able to go out and fill some of the holes that I talked about earlier. But the question is, at that 41 million, at that 125 million for 3 years, on a 36-year-old quarterback who's coming off of Achilles injury, have the Falcons weighed that in its entirety? That's got to be the question. And you would think, with all those smart people that scout players and do the contracts and look at the team and try to figure out what's best for now and for the future, right? You gotta know that they already have weighed this out. Um, and if they go down this route, right? Who are the guys they're going to target? They had to already think about that, right? We go down this route. Who are the guys we're going to target, right? We still haven't seen any of the cuts that we thought that we was going to see, you know, about those 4 or 5 guys that everybody thought that was potentially was going to be cut from the team. All right, none of those guys have been cut yet, so that could add more cap space to the room. But at the same time, do they want Taylor Heineke to stay on this roster at that price tag, right? We don't know that. We haven't seen it yet. He's still on the roster. They got rid of Jonnu Smith, right? Congratulations, Jonnu Smith for signing with the Miami Dolphins. He already found his new team. What they want to do with Lorenzo Carter, we did lose Bud Dupree, so Lorenzo Carter might be safe. He might stay here. Mike Hughes has another year in the contract. We just talked about the cornerback position is one of the holes that Atlanta Falcons need to fill. He might stay here. And then Ade Okendeji, we don't know his status. He's another guy that was on the IR last year. It'll be interesting what the coaching staff seeing about him, because they will have to go back 2 years, look at his tape to see, if they want to keep him. But that'll be a $3 million cap saving if they decide to cut him. So those are the things that right now, from a salary cap standpoint, and looking at Kirk Cousins' potential salary. Now, we don't know if this is what he's asking for, right? This is what they think he could get, right? That 3-year contract worth 125 million, $41 million a year, up to 31 million in incentives, and then 85 million guaranteed, right? That's the report out there. Could be more than that, could be less than that. It could be more years. It could make it a 4-year contract, and then you can actually get that cap even lower, because now you can spread that guaranteed over more years, right, and spread it out that way. So, but with a 36-year-old quarterback, you have to really, sit here and think about it. One reason why, because Kirk Cousins, he has been consistent, right? He has been consistent in the regular seasons. We know what to expect for him, so it's less mystery on what we should be getting from Kirk Cousins. And most people believe why the Atlanta Falcons are favored to win the NFC South, because if you get competent quarterback play, which we think we're going to get from Kirk Cousins, it makes sense, right? But let's put it into perspective. So 2 years ago, our Atlanta Falcons traded our quarterback, Matt Ryan. He was, close to Kirk Cousins' age, maybe a little bit older, but the whole idea of why the Indianapolis Colts gave us a 3rd-round pick for Matt Ryan, because they thought they just needed that missing piece, right? So, and then we saw how that turned out, right? Everybody's like Matt Ryan, and I 100% believe that the way that the Indianapolis Colts played the year before, all they needed was a competent quarterback. That's what they felt too. That's why they went and traded for Matt Ryan. right? And it was a disaster. It really was, right? The offensive line seemed like they forgot how to block. Matt got sacked so many times. It was turnover. They couldn't win. It was inconsistency all across the board, right? And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with the Atlanta Falcons, but you have to think about things like that because they brought in an older quarterback where they thought that's all they needed. And Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. So you would believe that him going over to the Indianapolis Colts, they would have been successful. And it just did not work out at all, right? They end up cutting Matt Ryan. Um, they had to pay him for his last season after they cutted him because he had guaranteed money on his contract. And now they had to go back into the draft and draft Anthony Richardson, right? So that's why you we have to think about it, guys. Um, I do believe that if Kirk Cousins become our quarterback, I think it could be so. It definitely could work, 100%. But the question is, if the Atlanta Falcons factored in that salary cap and that price tag for him, and thinking that's the best option, that's what you got to think about. Because even though you still be able to spend, based off the salary cap, because you got to think about it. The salary cap did go up 30 million this year, right? So you anticipate it going up again next year. So it won't hurt you as bad, right? With that 41 million, because salary cap keep continually rising every year. That 41 million is look like chunk change here, probably in the next 3 years for a quarterback, because I can anticipate quarterbacks probably going to end up making like $80 million a year, right? So just think about it when you think about quarterbacks. That 41 million, in a couple of years, look like a bargain, right? That's probably what's going to end up happening. However, right, we just talked about it. Atlanta Falcons are favored to win NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons need to add, you know, holes. They need to fill holes on their team in certain positions, right? Paying Kirk Cousins this amount of money, what holes are they willing to sacrifice in free agency where they would have to go in the draft to fill, right? That's the question they have to ask themselves, right? And like I said, I know that I'm not the first. I know that this is not the first, thing. I know they already thought about all this because if they have not, they should be having these jobs, right? I mean, it's no way that the Atlanta Falcons have not went down all these different scenarios that I'm talking about right now, and if they haven't, you know, they 2 days away from negotiating period. And they haven't thought all this out, so we know. I'm 100% sure that they have already thought all this out. But it was just on my mind, and it's going to be interesting to see which direction they go, right? Because if they decide to go with Kirk Cousins, and from everything we heard from Arthur Blank, Terry Fontenot, and Raheem Morris, during the combine week was that they're going to get it right, right? They're going to put all these minds together, come up with the best option for getting the right sitting collar in here, right? And if they come away with saying that Kirk Cousins is their best option, well, we got to believe that they have thought about all these different scenarios that I just laid out, right? That they're fine with paying him what he's asking for, right? They're fine with that. They're able to fill the holes that they need to do in free agency with the remaining salary cap cap space that they have, and then they're confident that they can go add depth in the draft as well, right? So those are the things that um, I'm sure if they go the Kirk Cousins route, they have laid all this out, right? This won't be something new. They just doing that, flying at the seat of their pants. They have already thought about all these different scenarios, right? Um, so if they get Kirk Cousins, do they, say, okay, we got our quarterback. Now we're gonna emphasize the pass rush, right? And we're gonna wait to the draft to go for cornerback, right? Um, or do we fill the safety spot? Are you happy with your two safeties you got? Alongside Jesse Bates, all right? You're happy with Richard Grant and Marco Helms, all right? That's what you got. You won't be able to fill all your needs, right? In free agency, especially if you go this route. It's really no way. Yes, they could clear up cap space. They can add more money and things like that. But we just talked about it going backwards and adding all this cap space on a team where was 7-10 3 years in a row. So it's not like they was in the NFC Championship game. You add this one piece, and it's a Super Bowl team. No, right? You got to figure out these holes. You got to fill them up. You have to do that. Yes, the biggest thing is the quarterback, but you know, let's be honest, right? We lost a couple of games because our defense couldn't hold up. We took the lead, but our defense couldn't hold up, right? I mean, you look at the Minnesota game. We had the lead in that game, and we couldn't hold at the end. The Arizona game, we had the lead in that game. We couldn't hold at the end. The Carolina game, even though that terrible um, interception that Desmond Ritter threw, we still had the lead, and our offense couldn't hold up. I mean, our defense couldn't hold up. So, I mean, defense is still was a whole lot, a way lot, completely better than it was the season before. The last two seasons combined, it was better than those teams. But we still had issues, man. Richard Grant got baptized in a lot of games that lost. The Arizona game. I mean, that tight end. We have never heard that tight end until he played the Atlanta Falcons, and now he you know put up all pro numbers that one game. The Tampa Bay game, Richard Grant got burned in that game. We had that game. Talking about the one in Atlanta, and the game winning touchdown was on Richard Grant. Um, like I said, the Minnesota game, guy been there 4 days. Defense couldn't hold up in that game. So we got to fill holes, guys. We got to fill holes because if our defense hold up in those 3 games, we're in the playoffs anyway. And this offseason is completely different, probably because we still have the same coaching staff. We'll be looking to move forward. Maybe we're not even talking quarterback at this point. We don't know because we would have gotten the playoffs and it would have been a successful season, especially for this regime, because that was the expectation last year for Atlanta Falcons to at least get in the playoffs, right? You invested all that capital on the defensive side of the ball. You had all those young talented weapons on offense, and you underperformed as a team, and that's why Arthur Smith is let go. That's why the Atlanta Falcons looking for a new quarterback, right? And it's a lot of different opinions in the building right now because of what's transpired last year. So it's just that simple, right? So if they decide to go Kirk Cousins, right, they have to already be the factor in the salary cap and all the decisions and that needs to take place because they went that route to sign him to that large contract. Um, it's inevitable at any point if you get a franchise quarterback, you're gonna have to pay him. It's that just the way it is. You can't skate, throughout being a team and think you're not gonna have to pay your quarterback. It's just the way it is. It happens to every team that they got a good quarterback is going to happen. So I understand them paying Kirk Cousins, and I understand why like I said, why they would sign him because of his consistency throughout the years. It hasn't been a winning. Like for his teams have not been successful, but his numbers um, prove that he can take us to where we want to go if you put a good team around him, and that's what we want. That's giving us a chance, right? That's what you need in anything. You just need a chance to get to the tournament, get to the playoffs, and you never know what happened, man. Look at the Giants, Eli Manning, 6 seeds twice and take the team to the Super Bowl and win it against Tom Brady, right? You just need to get to the tournament. Kirk Cousins has been successful in the playoffs. Maybe he can turn it around with the Atlanta Falcons. So if they decide to go that route, that's where it's going to be, guys. And I believe that they would have to already weighed in all those salary cap discussions. Which route they go in free agency. which holes they can fill in the draft, right? All those things going to be factored in. Like I said, we still haven't seen any cap cuts yet. Um, so what that mean about the other two quarterbacks on the roster? Um, are we going to clear up any more cap space? We don't know. We just have to wait to see. Um, One thing about this organization under Terry Fontenot, most things is tight-lipped. You don't know about what's going on until it happens, right? That's good. That's good. You like I said, you hear all these rumors and stuff, but it's not coming out the Atlanta Falcons organization. So everybody just guessing and trying to figure out what the Atlanta Falcons is going to do, and then once it happened, that's when we all know. So that's what I like about it. All right, guys. So with that being said, the last thing I'm going to talk about today is that the Atlanta Falcons have to weigh the present versus the future. Right? It's just that simple. Um, and in present time, we got a team that's right on the edge of being really, really competitive and being able to compete in the NFC. Right? That's what we think we are. Um, if you listen to our head coach and our general manager, that's what they think we are. Most fans, that's fans of Atlanta Falcons, kind of agree with that sentiment that we are right there. So in the present time, a lot of us feel like that if the Atlanta Falcons get this quarterback position right, fill in the holes that we talked about, we can really be competitive, right? So once again, like I said, deja vu, right back to where we were last year. That's where we're at. That's the present. That's is the present. The future is is in my opinion kind of is dictated by where they go right now with this quarterback position. Because if they decide to go the Kirk Cousins route, right? Um, 3 or 4 years from now, 2 years from now, whenever it is, Atlanta Falcons be having this discussion again about the quarterback position, right? And that's the only issue. I think that's the biggest issue that they really got to kind of think about, because the future of this team, if you're trying to hold sustainability, is hinged around that position, right? And if you're doing this for a short term fix, right, what is the succession plan? I keep talking about it because um you don't want to be those teams, one of those franchises that you know haven't figured it out at that position yet. And if we look at those teams, um, they still struggling, right? With all the hype around the New York Jets, um, their quarterback is going to be 40 years old this year, and in a couple seasons, they're going to be right back, starting trying to figure out who's going to be their quarterback. Chicago Bears has probably never really figured out that position, right? They had Jim McMahon in the days, and he took them to the Super Bowl, right? The '85 Bears. If you go way back to that team, Rex Grossman, but they pretty much that was the defense. The Bears always been known for their defense, but when you're talking about the quarterback position, they've been struggling for years. Quarterback position. Uh, the Cleveland Browns is another team, right? Um, they think, they went out and gave the first $230 million guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson, and since that he has not lived up to the hype, right? So the Cleveland Browns is one of those teams that like when they're going to figure it out and get it right, right? It's some of those teams that's really never had a quarterback, and Atlanta Falcons with all you know the hate on Matt Ryan. Atlanta Falcons has had good quarterback play. If you take away a couple years, especially last 3 seasons, and then that 1 season gap between when Michael Vick left and Matt Ryan got there, Atlanta Falcons been spoiled. We haven't had this issue worrying about who's going to be our quarterback, right? We actually had it. The problem with the Atlanta Falcons doing all these times, right? They just couldn't build a team around your quarterback, and it could have been because of the salary, but definitely because you know your draft, right? If you don't draft well when you pay your quarterback, it kills your teams, right? So, go back and look at some of those drafts that happened when Matt Ryan was the quarterback. We had some good drafts. We did, but for the most part, some of those drafts were not good. And think about it, a lot of those guys that we drafted, during that time is not even in the league anymore, right? But we did find some gems. I mean, you still got Jake Matthews on this team. Um, the historic Julio, probably a future Hall of Famer. Um, Roddy White is a guy that's in the Ring of Honor. You have, of course, Matt Ryan. You got Grady Jarrett. You got Chris Lindstrom. So, they have hit on draft picks. But when you think about a draft class, that's just where they fell short. So when you do pay your quarterback, that's when the draft start to come into, you know, that's team building, right? Unless you do like what the Rams did and they go all in and they trade away all their draft picks for really talented guys and then go for it. And it paid off for them. They won the Super Bowl, right? But then they realized eventually that had to end and they had to start over, right? So 2 seasons ago, they had a lot of young players, but they nailed the draft, right? And then you look what happened this year. They was back in the playoffs. So young team, they nailed the draft. So think about that with our future with the Atlanta Falcons, right? The draft has been solid the last 3 seasons. I anticipate the Terry Fontenot to do a good job again this year draft, right? But it's still a question mark about the quarterback, right? That's where it boils down to. So that quarterback question, if we decide to go the Kirk Cousins route, it's definitely still going to be there in the next 3 years, right? So if you sign Kirk Cousins to a 3-year contract, right, and it works, right, that means that he has played well. The Atlanta Falcons is really competitive. They're making to the playoffs. They're competing, right? Because once you get to playoffs, you got a chance, right? If they do that and it works, still, guys, in the next 3 or 4 years, we're gonna be back here talking about who our quarterback for Atlanta Falcons be, right? Now, if they was to go another route, just say they go to Justin Fields route, right? Right. He's young, right? He still has a lot of stuff to prove, and that's why it's not like when people say it's a no brainer to go get Justin Fields. It it's not that simple because he has played 40 games in this in this league, and it's no consistency there. So it's not just 100% locked that they just should go down that route. They did that last year, right? They took a quarterback who was unproven, and Arthur Smith got fired because of it. Raheem Morris want to go down that route, he definitely can. And if it works, it'd be awesome because now you got a quarterback who's 24-year-old and he could be your quarterback for the future. And if we win in the present with him, right? And he lasts, now you got your future. So that's why that decision is there as well, right? So if they was to go with Justin Field, it makes sense 100% as well. But you have to think about it. It's not like a slam dunk. Like, yes, that's the way they should go, right? If you go to somebody like Russell Wilson, probably is the cheapest route in my opinion to go, right? That decision, you're drafting him, you're picking him up now, but you're drafting your quarterback in the draft, right? You're drafting their future quarterback now, because that would be the smart thing to do, right? He could be that bridge, right? That's why, like I said, guys, there's so many different scenarios that Atlanta Falcons go, and I'm probably 100% sure that this is not the first time they don't have these discussions. I'm pretty sure these Atlanta Falcons have sat here and thought about all this stuff we're talking about right now, and they have laid out different scenario. If this happened, if we go down this route, what you think about this? What you think about this? If we take Justin Fields, right, we got to pay him this much. If it don't work out, then what? You have to think about all that stuff because if you don't think about it, um, you're not doing your job. That's what they get paid to do. You got to make decisions, good or bad, right? But you got to make the decisions for it. Bruce says Russell Wilson is the best bet to get because it's not expensive. Then Kurt, um, Falcons still need to fill other spots. And Bruce, that's exactly what I said earlier. If you go down this route, but the question is, like I said, they already had this conversation. They had to. So if they decide to go get Kirk Cousins, they already had that conversation about what you're saying, right? Yes, this guy's cheaper, but this the best bet because this is what we think is going to happen, right? But when you making these decisions as a GM and a head coach, you already know the outcome, either way. So just like the Buffalo Bills GM said, during the combine, right, when they asked him about moving up to get Josh Allen, if it worked out, right, nobody's gonna even care about how many picks he gave away or anything like that. If it does not work out, he ain't gonna be there anyway. And that's really what you really boils down to, right? So if the Atlanta Falcons make the decision, they gotta live with it and believe that this the decision they making. It's not one decision for them. So it's not as easy because they can go down so many different avenues, so many different roads, in making this decision. So it's not as simple as we just go here because that's the only one we got. No, it's so many different roads that this team can go down. Um, so when they make a decision, they need to have convictions on it and let it ride, man. That's what it boils down to. So if you want to give Kirk Cousins $125 million, on a 3-year deal at $41 million a year, 85 million guaranteed, that's reportedly what he might want. We don't know what he wants, right? Um, that's the decision they made, and then you would think that okay, these the free agents we're going to go off based off signing Kirk Cousins, right? These are the guys we're going to, you know, go after in the draft to fill some of these holes. They already had this conversation. If we go to the Justin Fields route, right? Um, $3 million this year, pick up his fifth year option, about $22 million next year, right? Those are decisions. Hopefully he work out. If he have a Desmond Ritter type year, you know, Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot is going to be probably talking about the quarterback position again next year. It's just the way it is. Um, But that's the decision they made. That's the road they went down. They decided to go with a guy like Russell Wilson and, pay him the league minimum and draft a quarterback, which is to Bruce's point, it might be the best option because now you can even move up in the draft, right? So the Falcons still want to try to move up and get one of those three guys. Right now, it's reported like it's another guy, JJ McCarthy. All of a sudden, um, every year that it happens, somebody else come out the blue and be up there. Then some team takes him out the blue. I mean, that's what happens every year, right? So, but if the Atlanta Falcons want to, still move up and give up draft capital, um, but they'll be able to fill a lot of needs in free agency going the route where they take Russell Wilson, right? Because they pretty much have all their salary cap, their cap that they need to build this team in free agency. So that is a ideal a route. Um, you would think they already weighed that as well, right? Of course, the Baker Mayfield thing is still out there. Do they go that route, right? But when we talk about the right now, the present, which is 2024, and what Atlanta Falcons need to do, I think they have to weigh in the future as well, right? Because you don't want to be a team that shine in one season and then the next season you're already back in the top 10 pick. Like that's not where we're trying to go. That shouldn't be any team's desire to just win one season. You want to build sustainability throughout the seasons and get where you want to go. So I understand the present. Right now, we're trying to win. That's the whole object of any team is to win, right? And if you want to win every season, so it makes sense to go that route. Um, but it comes with you know other things they have to think about, other things they need to consider, right? And one would be the salary that they would have to pay, and the limitations they'll have, in signing other guys as well. It's just the nature. It doesn't stop them from signing other guys because we just talked about it. I think the NFL salary cap is there, but it seemed like it always never stopped teams from getting the guys that they want, for the most part, right? Um, Now, if you run out of restructures and all that stuff, there's nothing you can do, But the Atlanta Falcons is in a good spot right now, as far as their salary cap. So they could utilize it any way they want at this point and pretty much build a roster, the kind of roster they want if a guy wants to come here and they want to sign him. So it's no even I really believe even if you sign Kirk Cousins, I don't think it's any limitations on who else they can go get if they really wanted these guys because they can make it work, right? You got a lot of guys that's on long term deals who's still young in some cases, and they could restructure and get more cap space. Like I said, they still haven't cut guys that we anticipate them cutting, and they can do that as well and get more cap space. So they still have opportunities to do anything they want, uh, but they had to be think about a decision. But guys, the reason I came in here today, I was just looking at that salary, and now coming on here talking to you guys, I feel better about it, because um, I know that if I'm thinking about this, right, I know that they already thought about it as well. So if they decide to go down this route, I anticipate that um, they laid out all the different, options, and they make sure that it's going to be successful because that's all we got to go off of. They say they're going to get it right. So if they pick Kirk Cousins, they feel like he's the best guy to get us where we want to go. They go Justin Fields, they feel like he's the best guy, right? They go in the draft and pick a guy in the draft. They feel like that guy is the best guy, right? That's where it really boils down to in the end, right? We gotta we gotta believe that what they're saying that they did all their homework, they crunched all the numbers, they did everything they wanted, and just because who we want and who we think they should go get, right? Um, we ain't gonna get fired, right? We don't have to win games, right? We want that to happen. We want our team to win. We want them to be successful, but they the ones making decisions, so it don't matter who we think they should go get, right? If, all you guys that the Justin Field guys out there that want Justin Fields, shit, I think I would love to see him in an Atlanta Falcon uniform, but that might not be the right guy for them right now, so they might not go that route. For all you guys thinking Kirk Cousins is the answer and the key, that's where they think, and then they might go that route. We got to believe that they already have thought about all these scenarios and the salary cap and free agency and the draft, right? They already thought about all this stuff. So that's where I'm at. Like I said, I wanted to come on here because I was thinking about that number I heard. I was like, wow, man, 125 mil, $41 million a year, 131 in incentives, 85 million guaranteed. I'm like, wow, that's a lot for a 36-year quarterback. Then you start looking at it and you be like, man, well, you know, Matt Ryan went to Indianapolis, it didn't work out for him. Could something like that happen with Kirk Cousins? Right? It was like, man, it's scary, right? Then you saw what happened to Aaron Rodgers last year. 4 plays in, he's out for the season. So you start thinking, man, you're really taking a chance if that happens at that price tag. Or that's that's what's going through my mind. But they had to think about all that, guys. So this is not on a whim. What I'm trying to say, if they go down that route, it's not like we have no other choice. We got to do this. No, they thought about it a lot because it's not their only option. If it was the only option, we'd be like, man, you just got suckered, right? You got taken advantage of. No, this is not their only option. So they got other options that they want to choose. And if they choose this one, they felt like this was the best. That's the way I'm looking at it, and that's the way I'm gonna ride with it. While it says I don't think the salary cap is going to hurt us if they decide to go Cousins. I agree. I don't either. I agree with you, but that is still a big number, right? And if it doesn't work down the line, it could affect us. That's the point I'm making because you still don't have your answer at quarterback, and now you got a quarterback on here that you're paying that much money. That's where only reason it'll hurt us. It won't hurt us in game free agents. It will not hurt us, and things like that. But it will hurt us if it doesn't work. That's my concern. Um, Time for some Super Bowl rings. There you go. Right? Hey, we've been to two, man. Been to two Super Bowls. Been to two. We almost had one. We almost had one. Um, while I said yes, we have to trust the process and go with who they think the best fit for our quarterback, whether they go with a vet or draft a quarterback. Yes, yes, that's where I'm at, guys. We about 48, almost 50 some hours away from the start of the tampering period, but we get to see what these guys do. But at this point, you know, I'm just going to go with it. Whatever they decide to do, we heard from them saying that they're going to get it right. So when you got 4 or 5 different options that you can take, where you're not you know got your back against the wall and you just got to go with something, right? And if they go down that route, I think they made the decision they wanted to make, right? Because they didn't have to do that one. They could wait for the draft. They could take Justin Fields. They could try to entice Russell Wilson to come into the team. So on and so on and so forth, right? So if they go with Kirk Cousins as their option because that's what they wanted to do, and they have weighed everything, by bringing him in. That's where I'm at with it. Um, Man, please, everything going to work out for the time the Super Bowl rings. Change, they're going to choose who they want. Yeah, they're going to choose who they want. That's the bottom line, right? So, you know, a lot of you guys, and this what really gets me about us fans, right? Because if they pick Kirk Cousins, and if you didn't like that, are you gonna stop being a fan? That's that's the question that's the question I always ask people. Like, if they pick Kirk Cousins, what you gonna do? You gonna stop watching? No, you're not gonna stop watching. You're not. You're a fan, right? You wanted to work out. That's your team, right? So just because they didn't get your guy, right? Just like in the draft, right? I think the draft is really how many times the Atlanta Falcons probably picked the guy in the draft, especially the last 3 seasons that you didn't want them to pick. Go back to the first season when they picked Kyle Pitts. A lot of people was upset they didn't pick Justin Fields, right? Right. A lot of people was upset, but 3 years later, he only won 11 games and he played 40 games, right? So how bad was that decision? Now, when you look back at it, now he's about to get traded from his team, right? You can say what you want to say, bad situation, whatever, like that. But 3 years later, everybody was upset that Atlanta Falcons didn't take Justin Fields, and now they got an opportunity to get Justin Fields after they got a better team to put around him. So think about that, right? Um, Upset that we didn't take um the big guy out of Georgia, both big guys out of Georgia, because Jordan Davis and Dan Carter, right? 2 years in a row. Really upset about that. A lot of people's upset about that, but Carter had a good season this year. He did, but it doesn't look like they've been making bad decisions, guys. They've been doing a great job in decisions they've been making so far. Only decision that they made, in my opinion, and we all was on board with this decision too, as fans as well. But last year when they decided to say Desmond Ritter was our guy, right? It just didn't work out. That's the decision where you got to be like, wow. Maybe did somebody say decision going after Deshaun Watson, make a mistake in trading Matt Ryan year too early. That you could say that could be because, and the reason why I say a year too early because we were still in cap salary cap hell at that point, so we could have still been competitive with Matty Ice because we couldn't get nobody anyway. Could have kept our quarterback for one more year, then let him go, right? We could have did that. That could have happened, but we decided to, we alienated him a little bit because we pursued Deshaun Watson, then did not end up with him. Then he wanted to ask for a trade. We know how that happened, right? But those are only two decisions that we think about. We went for Dez, and we always behind that because we thought he could not be any worse than where Marcus Mariota was the year before, right? We was like, there's no way he can play that bad, and he actually did play worse. But that decision, and then what we did, Deshaun Watson decision, but every other than those two decisions, guys. I mean, this Terry Fontenot been hitting out. Look at the draft picks. Most all our draft picks never going to be 100%. You just don't know. But a lot of our guys we pick really have played a lot of football in these first 3 seasons, and they've been really, really, they contributed a lot to this team's success in a lot of ways. So, and you can see the growth from these guys as well. We have missed, right? Don't forget about Jalen Mayfield, who's not on the team anymore. Right? We just talked about Richie Grant. It's some guys that's out there. Yes, Darren Hall, some guys that we missed on. It's 100%. I agree, but it's not going to be perfect. But look, last year's draft was, it was just they knocked it out of the park, man. Bergeron, Helms, Bijan, they knocked it out of the park last year. Zach Harrison, Clark Phillips. I mean, last year's draft was you gotta like what they did last year to draft. And those guys already showed, what they're capable of, right? So you gotta like that. So Keanu said they still gotta let some players go on the team or add more money. Don't forget about that. Yes, we talked about that. Wondering where they're at with that. It's like 4 guys I thought they was going to cut, but we still haven't heard anything about those cuts yet. Are they going to happen? I don't know. I mean, I think it's only fair to cut guys before free agency start, because if they're looking for other teams, you need to let them get out there and start looking. So, kind of make you wonder, are they going to cut anybody? That's where I'm at, because they only got 2 days left. Guy like Lorenzo Carter, like I said, they might end up keeping him because they got Bud Dupree is not here anymore. And like I said, that's the decision that Atlanta Falcons really got to weigh heavily on, because our 2 sack leaders, Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell, is not with the team anymore. Right? Now we're definitely know we're back in the pass rush market once again. Like every year, it's like an annual tradition for Atlanta Falcons trying to find pass rush. So, so until they get it right, but maybe finally they can get it right in free agency. If we don't, we'll find out. Mike said, "Fire, appreciate it, big dog. Appreciate it. I wonder what Zach Robinson's going to do with the new team he will do better than Arthur Smith. I mean, honestly, I don't know if anybody can do as worse as Arthur Smith did. I mean, the Arthur Smith biggest issue, and we're just going back to 2023 here. His biggest issue was not getting his playmakers the ball, not finding a way to get his playmakers the ball. That's how you win. It's just that simple. That's why everybody, want to marvel at what made Kyle Shanahan such a good play caller, because he knows if you get your playmakers the ball, that's the right decision to do. It's just that simple, right? It's not rocket science. Kyle Shanahan gets his playmakers the ball. Deebo Samuel gets the ball. Christian McCaffrey gets the ball. Brandon Ayuk gets the ball. George Kittle gets the ball in some games. That's what he did, right? Like, he gets his playmakers the ball. Arthur Smith's problem was he thought he was smart, and like he'll use his playmakers as decoys and things like that. And Jonnu Smith will have more receptions than your number 4 overall tight end, and like you don't get your number 8 running back, who everybody say was all world. You don't get him the ball enough. So I mean, Drake London, having one catch in the game. Like, that's the point I'm making. That's where Arthur Smith failed. He just didn't get his playmakers the ball. That's the trick, right? That's why you look at great play callers, right? And you say, man, why are they so great? Because all they do is get their best players the ball. You put the ball in your best player's hand, and they're going to do what they do. That's why Julio averaged almost 100 yards a game, because they got him the ball, right? And everybody in the stadium know he's going to get the ball, but you got to stop him from getting the ball. That's what you got to do, and that's where Arthur Smith failed, right? So you're talking about Zach Robinson, what he's going to do, right? Hopefully, he gets the playmakers the ball, simplify the game, right? What I got to do, it's a mismatch with him. I'm gonna get him the rock. The more touches he get, we're gonna be great. That's what you got to do. If Zach Robinson don't do anything else, be like, if I get my playmakers the ball, get them enough touches, we're gonna be good. That's what you gotta do, right? Now you gotta have that sitting caller to get them the ball, right? And so it's not 100% Arthur Smith's fault, because Dez couldn't get them the ball a lot of times himself. But right, that's the key, man. It's to me, it's not really a big old secret how to make it happen. You gotta get your playmakers to rock, man. It's just that simple. Scheme your guys open for they can get the ball in their hand, because when they do get the ball in their hand, they're dynamic, right? We was marveled by how much as a mismatch that Kyle Pitts was, and he showed that his first season. Like, people want to label him as a bust, but his first season, Kyle Pitts showed that he was a mismatch. It's not even. It's think about it, guy. He went to the Pro Bowl his first season, had over 1,000 yards. Right now, we had a great sitting caller, Matt Ryan, to give him the rock, but he showed his skill set. Now, last year he was injured. We know he was coming back out injured. MCL and PCL. They know it was both, but Kyle Pitts is a mismatch. He is. Drake London is a monster, man. Let's get him the rock. Let's get Drake London the rock. Use that two-headed monster you got in the backfield, and Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. Use Bijan out of the backfield. Like, it's, to me, that stuff is simple. You got to get a guy that can get on the ball, but that's what Zach Robinson needs to do. That's what he needs to do. Exactly. Not playing the strengths of not playing the strengths of the offense. That's where it killed us at. I think Zach Robinson going to get everyone the ball. Drake, Kyle Pitts. I'm really hyped, ready to practice. Yeah, me too. I can't wait, man. I'm excited. The crazy part about we don't know who we don't know who's going to be the quarterback yet. So, I could either quarterback they talking about. I could kind of envision how to be like. It wouldn't be the same offense with a Justin Fields that it would be with a Kirk Cousins. It wouldn't be, right? It'll be different. We know that, right? Because you got to utilize his skill set now. Of a runner and how explosive he is running the ball. So you will have to, tailor the offense to what Justin Fields' strengths are, right? But then you go to a guy like Kirk Cousins and, a guy who's throw for 4,500 yards a year, right? Getting his guys the ball, making Justin Jefferson, giving him a chance, right? Putting the ball up there to the all-world talent in Justin Jefferson. That's what he did, giving the rock, right? That's what you got to do. Right, so we'll know what it looked like with Kirk Cousins. We would know that. Russell Wilson, if he can, go back to his Seattle days and the way he played, kind of know we get one of the best deep ball throwers, in this game with his accuracy that he has. His off schedule plays that he used to make, right? That's what we can see that, right, with these guys. Right. We don't know which route they're gonna go. And then you go in the rookie, you go any one of these rookies, you can envision, using their skill set and their potential that they got. These rookies, it's a crapshoot with those guys because you don't know what they're gonna be in the pros, right? You're trying to translate what they did in college to pros. Sometimes it just don't work out. So that's scary to think about that. But that's another thing you got to think about. Like I said, we played against the worst run stopping teams and passed the ball 40 times. Right. Now, and see, that's what people don't understand. Like, so the previous season, we ran the ball all the time, right? And this season, he went away from that. He went away from that. He went away from running the rock, right? Um, and especially if you are a play action team like Arthur Smith really is, that's what he was. That's his bread and butter, right? Play action. If you do play action, um, you run the ball, you set up better, opportunities in the passing game. So I agree with you. He just didn't do what he needed to do. Um, Whoever we get going to help Desmond Ritter, if Ritter can't get it together, he will be traded or cut. I'm just saying, Des, I tell you about Des, man. He has potential. Right, we've seen it. He has potential. Right. Only thing that pissed me off about Desmond Ritter is the turnovers. It's just that simple, man. They turn over the ball too damn much, man. Like, I mean, it was at points when I was at the game watching Dez. I think I was scared for him to throw the ball. I'm just being honest with you, because it felt like he was going to turn it over, and that's when you get to the point where your quarterback is dropping back and you think he's going to be a pick or something. That's scary. That is scary. So um, that's where we had got with Des Ritter, me personally, and that's why he has potential. I mean, if you look at his poise, he wants the ball in his hand. He want to make plays. He just made too many mistakes, man, and he cost us some games. He really did. I mean, that Commanders game that we had, those 3 turnovers, in the red zone. Um, we looked up and won the Tampa game with all those turnovers in the red zone. That terrible turnover in Carolina in the red zone, right? Like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man. Like, that killed us. So, yeah, but Desmond Ritter has potential, right? I just think now I think he's going to be a good backup quarterback in the league, because it seems like he can't get out of his own way. Yes, he's just going to his 3rd season, so there's a lot of potential there for him. But at the end of the day, um, just don't know. Steve said, I think Fields would be cheaper, more athletic free agent choice, but draft JJ McCarthy with pick 8. If Field doesn't work out, we have our future quarterback. See, that's what I mean. So Steve, see, this is what I mean when Steve says stuff like this. This is an option, right? So that's why I came out here and said it, because we talking about the salary cap. We think about this price tag. If they go with Kirk Cousins and things like that, but if they decide to go with Kirk Cousins, because that's what they wanted to do, because to Steve's point, this is another option they have, right? They don't have to, like, put all their eggs in one basket and go over Kirk Cousins, because their backs are not to the wall. They're not desperate, right? They have this option as well, right? They have an option to do what Steve's saying here. So if they decide to go Kirk Cousins, because that's what they wanted to do, and they felt like that was the best way. So, and that's what we got to roll with, because they have so many different other options to go. That's why it's fascinating, because it's not just one. It's not that if they got to go this, and then they don't, they ass out of luck. No, they got all these different options. So by them going down this road, that if they decide to go, because that's what they wanted to do, because it's not like the last resort. Like, that's when you thinking like they had no other choice but to pay him that much money. No, they decided to pay him that much money because that's what they wanted to do, and that what they felt like the best option. So Steve is right. They can go this option, and this would not be, a bad option to a lot of people, right? Because this the option they wanted to go. This is right. I'm not gonna say it's the right option because I don't know, right? I don't know what's the right option, and we're not on the hook for making these decisions. So we got our our preferences and what we think they should do, but at the end of the day, man, I hope whatever decision they make is right. That's all I'm saying. But this is an option, Steve. You are correct. They could definitely go down this route and do it. they're going to be hard on Desmond Ritter to make him work and get choked because it's time. Yes, um, this one of the reasons why I think a veteran quarterback coming in. If you keep a guy like this, um, you can get a guy like Kirk Cousins, and he could learn behind him. I'm not wanting to mentor him because that's the coaching staff job to make sure guys get ready to play and stuff like that. But you learn from a veteran guy like a Kirk Cousins, that could definitely help Desmond Ritter out. How he prepare and things like that. So um, that what you got. Uh, Bucks game turnover running it in. I mean, he fumbled. He fumbled on the 1 yard line, ran it in, turned it over, and then he got sacked. So he had 3 turnovers in the red zone in the Bucks game down in Tampa, but we still won that game. If you guys call, because he actually had a great fourth quarter drive in that game. That pass he threw to Kyle Pitts to put us in field goal range, right? So he showed flashes. So I'm not completely out on Diggs. I just think that um he's just a good solid quarterback in the league. Probably could be a backup quarterback. That's where I'm at with him. Um, Atlanta Falcons haven't said anything yet. They've been quiet, and that's how I like it. Don't know who they're going to go get, but I'm happy with the spot. Yeah, I love that as well. I King Atlanta, I love the fact that we haven't heard anything out of this organization. Right? We hear all these rumors, right? And everybody's going back and forth with each other and upset because, you know, Atlanta Falcons were favored to get Justin Fields, and everybody was like, "What have Justin Fields done?" Going down that whole reason why it would not be a good idea to go get Justin Fields, right? Then a week later, we favored to get Kirk Cousins, right? And everybody was like, "You're going to pay an old quarterback coming off injury that much money?" Well, so like but the problem is none of this coming from the Falcons. So everybody getting all up in arms about, and we could see Sunday or Monday the Falcons trade up for the number 3 overall pick, and everybody's like, wow, didn't see that coming, right? Or they could do what Steve said and go get Justin Fields, and then at number 8 or move up and take a JJ McCarthy or a Michael Penix, right? We're like, wow, didn't see that coming, right? We don't know. We don't know what are their plans. We just got to wait to see. That's why it's exciting, guys. That to me, that's why it's exciting. I can't wait to see how this thing um turn out in the end. Um, because I'm definitely gonna get on here and talk about it. Um, might bring out one of the cool hats again for you guys to see it, so we can talk about it because we finally got our quarterback, just like when we finally got our coach. Right? We waited. I think we waited 18 days to get our head coaching news. Now we've been waiting, about a month and a half to find out who our quarterback's going to be since that time. So it's been a while, but I think it's coming to a head soon. And if it doesn't happen, this week, we start thinking about the draft then because free agents gonna start getting going quick, really quick, right? And then if the free agents get going, and if Justin Fields still untraded, the opportunity to trade for him still could be out there, right? So that wouldn't be off the table yet until he's traded, right? So that wouldn't be off the table. But the free agency, I think, it's going to tell us a lot, right? If Kirk Cousins go back to Minnesota, well, that option is gone, right? Still got other avenues to go. They're not dead. They're not dead out the water. Nobody wouldn't think that. But that option be gone. Then they'll have to limit go to other options. Um, Next week will tell us everything. I'm saying staying quiet too. The dream is to see with his team win Super Bowls, and that's what I'm on. Yes. Yep. Just sit back, man, and let the fireworks work. Let the fireworks go. That's what we got to see. We just need to sit back and see how this thing unfold, man. How this thing unfold. I can tell you this much. I've been impressed the last 3 seasons with the way Terry Fontenot works, right? Last year, you know, we got a trade for John Smith. Then we got the big Jesse Bates signing. Then we got the Chris Lindstrom contract, right? And then we all thought Caleb McGarry was going to be out, but then they got him for less than we anticipated that to get him for, right? Then they went and signed Calais Campbell, right? Like David Amiyata, Caden. I mean, they did outstanding job last year, um, and it was all in silent. We didn't see none of these moves, right? Everybody kind of saw the Jesse Bates because we have been talking about that for a while, but all these other moves, um, man, we didn't know about it. So I mean, just sit back and let this play out. Got a new coaching staff, right? Um, things going to be different. Will the Atlanta Falcons go defense for the first time in this regime with Terry Fontenot? We'll have to see, right? We got a defensive minded coach, so we'll see how that works. So um, just sit back, let's enjoy it. Let's see how this thing play out. And I came on here to start the show, and I want to talk about the salary cap and how I was kind of concerned about it because of all the dollars that potentially they will have to fork out. But in the end, right, I feel better. Thank you guys for coming on here, making me talk myself through this and understanding that um even if they do get this contract, they already thought about it and what it means for the future and the present. So I think I feel better about it all the way. Atlanta Atlanta Falcons will be dangerous. Yes, they definitely had the potential to do that. Only thing I will say about this statement, we said the same thing last year. Just being honest, we said last year they could be dangerous. So um, you don't know how a season is going to turn out, man. You just don't know. Just don't know. Steve said we can get everything we need in this year's draft. There will also be at least two defensive edge players available in the second round. It's going to be exciting. 100%, man. I can't wait. And even if they go get a pass rusher in free agency, I can still see them taking Dallas Turner at number 8, man. Just double down. You got to get it right. Um, I know if you I know I'm tired of coming on here and saying, um, man, Atlanta Falcons still ain't fixed the pass rush. I know we tired of talking about it, right? John Abraham is the last guy. That's a long time ago. It's the last guy, right? Yep, Vic Beasley had a outstanding season with 16 and a half sacks, but that was a one hit wonder. I mean, think about it. He had 6 sacks in one game, right? So it's not as impressive as people kind of think it was because he had 6 sacks in one game. You know what I'm saying? So 16 and a half sacks, 6 in one game. So the rest of the season, he had 10 sacks. So um, the last guy was John Abraham. So it wouldn't be bad if the Atlanta Falcons double up on pass rushers. Yes, we still got Armor Educated here, but you know, D'Angelo Malone, we seen nothing. I don't know if it's the fault of his own, but if he can't get on the field because he ain't talented enough, I guess that's what the case is. But you know, coming up on his third season now, and we still don't know how talented that guy is. We haven't even seen him on the field. D'Angelo, he's been in special teams pretty much his whole career. So, and he was a third round pick. So that's not good. He's not a guy that's picked in the fifth, sixth, seventh rounds. Picked in the third round, and we haven't seen him on the field yet. So we don't know. And he was a monster in college. Yes, he went to I think it was Western Kentucky. He didn't go to a big school, but we don't know what to expect from D'Angelo Malone. But getting more pass rusher would be good. Michael says I think we can get a third round pick overall for 3 first round picks. That's too many picks, man. But I agree. That's probably what we can get. But if that's the route they want to take, they already weighed it out. That means they're trading away their draft capital because they're going to go the veteran route, right? Free agency. It's really the only way. It's the only other way you can do it. If you trade all your draft picks, you got to be able to nail free agency then because you're not building with young talent. And you're thinking that you got to go get your guy, right? Because I just talked about when we talk about passing, present, and future, right? you're trading up because you're trying to get your future solidified for the next 10 to 15 years, right? That's what you're trying to do. So you're going to be able to build talent around him, your young quarterback, in free agency. So if they decide to do this, I agree. Probably take 3 first-round picks, um, maybe 2 first round and 2 seconds, something like that. But either way, they're going to be some draft capital there, and then you have to play the penalty because you're going up to get a quarterback as well. So think about that. Um, Now Vic is begging to get back in the league. Shaking had so much potential gone. Right. We'll see if he get back into the UFL this year. Um, because that's going to kick off here this spring. So we'll start seeing some football here soon. Can't wait to see that and see how what that looks like. Um, it was kind of exciting last year. I watched it last year because I'm a football junkie. So I watched the XFL last year. Um, it was exciting. And the Atlanta Falcons actually signed a lot of those guys from the XFL last year. So um, it is an avenue to get back in. Get back in. We'll just have to see how it works. So, guys, thank you guys for tuning in today on a Friday. 2 days away from, let's see, find out what our Falcons going to do with this decision they got to make and filling out the rest of the roster because once the new league year starts, it's going to start going like this for about the first week and a half. Then it dies down, and then they start filling in little bit pieces here and there. So next week really going to be exciting because it's going to be hot and heavy. Um, go back and look at the cap space that some teams got. Commanders almost got $100 million to spend. Patriots got a lot of money to spend. So a lot of guys going to get paid this offseason. Hopefully, some of those guys pick our Atlanta Falcons to be one of those teams, and hopefully, we get the guys we want. Right? That's what it's all about. So, guys, that's all I have today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's hope, let's believe that the Atlanta Falcons going to get this right, just like they've been saying all off season. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.